The fate of the world. A big scary topic, but a mentor said to me once that bad news is better than no news. We want to pray for the best, but prepare for the worst. And the signals in the market right now are leading me back to one singular conclusion, and that is Pax Americana, the peace of the American empire, is over, and the Western world will soon face, before 2030, but probably sooner, a global societal calamity. I think this will occur as individuals and all of us humans start to realize, oh, whoa, things are set to continue to get worse, not better, for the first time in like 6 generations, right? So I really want you to stay till the end. I've got all my recommendations at the end, as well as all of the signals that have led me to this conclusion, with great prompts for you to do your own research with Google and ChatGPT and Reddit and all that sort of good stuff. Stay away from the mainstream media though. Because I want you to build your own confidence. Don't watch one video and then change your entire life's work off the back of that. Watch this, use it as a springboard to do your own research, build your own confidence, and prepare yourself and your family and your friends and your community for a potentially changing world. Okay? Big thing here is my experience is that with this topic, intuition cannot help us. It's based on the events and the micro cycles that we've experienced in our lifetime, and thus is useless in predicting past the current known. Useless in predicting past the current known. How you feel, what your gut tells you, will likely be of no help in this video and when trying to predict this stuff, because the gut isn't always right. It's often right, but it doesn't understand how micro cycles, 10, 15-year cycles, fit into macro cycles, 80-year, 100-year cycles. I've got a feeling about this. That gut feeling, that's the totality of your subconscious communicating with you. The part that you can't directly experience, that knows more than your, dare I say it, pathetic conscious mind could ever understand, right? And when I talk of a calamity that will significantly erode quality of life, it's very hard to get behind that idea. There's so much resistance, even if it's sticking out at you right in the face, and there's just proof point after proof point after proof point. And that's because we experience the 10-year microcycles for our entire existence. And we start to believe that things will always be generally as they've always been. Things will always be generally as they've always been. That's not actually how the world works. Zoom out 200, zoom out 2,000 years. The belief that the world will continue to go on generally as it has is so foundational that to many other beliefs, and basically every plan in a human's life is built on top of that, right? Especially in the Western world, probably mostly in the Western world. So when you've built life plans around everything for your culture, your business, your schooling, your food supply, travel, options, government, who you're going to vote for, all the rest, the idea of throwing that all away is extremely repulsive. It's such an upheaval in your belief system that it requires so much cognition, so much, and it carries so much emotionality, we'd rather write it off, dig a hole, put it in it, and leave it be. Even if it makes purely logical sense, even if the signals continue to pile up, even if everything is going on right now is unprecedented in the context of microcycles, it doesn't seem to matter. So, as per historic accounts, we will sleepwalk into the obvious because there's this mass societal feeling of, oh, but that'll never happen. The only thing we learn from history is that we don't learn from history. But then it does happen. The roaring 20s into the Wall Street crash. This story exists forever. Everything's fine until it's not. In fact, before it's not, everything's extra fine. Everything's extra fine. There's money, there's cash, it's flowing, we're having parties. Woo! Yay, we're loving it. Everything's not fine, it's fucked, we're fucked, it's all over. Oh my gosh, breadlines. And that's how it works. And if you ever look around right now, while the average family is struggling, there are Ferraris everywhere. There's Lambos everywhere. You're seeing the wealth gap occur, right? So everything's getting extra fine for a certain segment of people before it's all going to implode. And so I find this really interesting, because why wouldn't you take 5 to 15% of your net worth and invest it into a worst case scenario preparation pack that you could also use in the best case scenario? So in every other area of life, diversification and preparation is welcomed and praised. Why not have a whole bunch of long life foods and water purification options, gold, fuel, guns, all of which will act as inflationary hedges anyway if you make the purchases in the right way? Why wouldn't you do that? Because even that preparation means accepting even the possibility that that calamity might be closer than we think. It makes it a real possibility when you prepare for it. So that's an existential personality crisis waiting to happen, especially if you're not at peace with your mortality, which most of us aren't. I'm getting closer and closer the more ego deaths I go through and the more hard stuff I do, but I'm still not there. And I've seen this with myself. I constantly grapple with these ideas that I'm logically certain of. The signal is too strong not to be, but yet I'm not taking massive action. It's become really painful for me to even have this conversation with the ones I love most in my life. I'll say it passionately, and despite it making sense, despite getting agreement. So you're going to buy that? You're going to take $5,000 and put it into long life food? Yeah. Doesn't happen. And it's sad. Maybe I'm making this YouTube video, and it reminds me, it really reminds me of that story. The only thing we learn from history is that we learn nothing from history. So, I figured maybe I can help some of y'all live the best possible lives you can in the face of an uncertain future. And the most important recommendation, I'm going to go into more. Live your life like absolutely none of what I've just talked about is going to happen. Live your life like it's all going to work out, because the worst thing you could do in this scenario is throw away the future potentiality of something beautiful because there's a higher chance than you originally thought that it all might go to shit. Live your life like Dogecoin's going to the moon. Elon's going to tame AGI. He'll team up with someone and they'll make fusion energy free for the people. It could all go great. And we never end up in this dystopic, controlled, ugly, poor, sad future. Build like it's all going to work out. And while you're at it, live every day you're experiencing right now like this beautiful environment that is conducive to experiencing peak happiness and contentment. If you focus on what you've got instead of what you don't got, is actually limited. Use this potential that the world isn't going to be as good as it is right now to appreciate what you've got, instead of say, oh, doesn't the world suck? What's the world come to? And I think part of the reason we're so sloth-like with our behavior in the Western world is because it feels like this current state of the world is infinite, or it's going to last at least for as long as we last. So accepting that this possibility that it could all go to shit, that it could get much worse than it is right now, integrated correctly into your higher self, it can be utilized to add more meaning to life right now, not actually detract from it from nihilism, right? That's the fear. Like when you consider this possibility that the world's going to go shit, you could get nihilistic. Don't do that. Appreciate the time you have now. And so what I'm doing is getting into hobbies that would have utility in any world scenario. And what I've figured out is through this journey is they're the most enjoyable things anyway. Ancestral hobbies are amazing. Gardening, spearfishing, horse riding. It's a far deeper and more enjoyable experience being on a horse, one with it galloping through the hills in the countryside, than club banging to loud music, drinking piss, right? We don't know what we don't know, but this little 80-year pocket of human history, or even if we go the last 40-year pocket or the last 20-year pocket, it's been getting exponentially better, measured by the KPI of comfort. And like the lower middle class people today, whilst we say, oh my God, what's the world gone to, live better than most kings of ages past, for sure better than the average human. It can get worse. It can get so much worse than it is today. And you should use that to appreciate the time you have today, not slip into nihilism. So look, that's my big thesis on the problems and what we're facing. Here's my solutions, yeah? 1, live as if the edge case future where everything turns out as we expect is guaranteed. It's all going to be okay. 2, cherish every available experience now as if it might not be here tomorrow. 3, spending Spend your free time enjoying ancestral hobbies which have utility in any world state. For me, that looks like MMA, gardening, horse riding, marathon running, and spearfishing. And I'm loving them. They're the funnest things I've ever done, right? 4, 20% of your net worth into long life food, water, purification, gold, and fuel. And number 5, guns. Because if it gets really bad, it won't matter how much stuff you've collected. People just come and take it off you. So you definitely want some guns. I think I've got about 12. Definitely a great thing to have. So look, I have a group as well called Troy, where we have a life mastery equation and a system for reaching deeper into yourself and deeper into your potentiality. It's a very simple system. Sleep plus exercise times mentor plus buddy plus system equals a better life. Sleep for energy. Exercise for clarity. Sleep for energy, exercise for clarity, mentor for direction, buddy for accountability, and system for efficiency. You do those things, you'll achieve a better life. So look, leave a comment on the YouTube video, get at me. I'd love to talk to you about it. So without further ado, the signals, right? What are the signals that have led me to this conclusion? People are already saying, if you go on social media, people think it's really bad right now, right? They're not prepared for how much worse it could get. If it's as bad as it could be right now, what does that look like? We are right on time for something called the fourth turning. It'd be really good to look into his book, The Fourth Turning by Neil Howe. Number 3, people with first-hand or second-hand even World War II experience are making less decisions. If you were born in 1945, you'd be 79 today. And so people that saw war are dying, and the people that haven't seen war don't realize how fucking bad it is. Individual wage and salary purchasing power is absolutely collapsing. Look at the differential between salaries and house prices in 1950. Look at it today. You have a massive bank risk with car loans and commercial real estate loans. The job stats are fluffed up. They look good, but they're all part-time jobs. The USA is losing reserve currency status with Iran and Russia and China setting up digital CBDCs. The USA reverse repo account status is horrific. What happens at zero? Google that. That's a scary one. The Australian housing crisis. It's the most expensive in the world. Sydney. That's a massive problem. There is an artificial intelligence arms race happening. So you want to Google this, Sam Altman board, China x USA AI race, China chip sanctions. You've got food security problems, the European truckers Dutch revolt, Dutch farmers, Ukraine grain, droughts. Germany is deindustrializing their GDP in 2024. Check that out. They've got an energy crisis. You've got South Korea and North Korea. There's massive issues happening there. 70% of US economy is consumer spending. 70%. 50% of people in the US, 100K plus earners a year, are living paycheck to paycheck. 25% of 200K a year earners are living paycheck to paycheck. What does that tell you? What do you think is going to happen? The Japanese currency experiment is maturing. That's set to collapse. You've got workforce displacement from generative AI. You've got the NATO coalition collapsing over Ukraine. You've got the USA and Israel being alienated through what's happening in Gaza. There's the commercial real estate collapse. I think I already talked about that. You've got Thucydides's trap happening between China and Taiwan. That's a really interesting one to look into. You've got obvious presidential and deep state collusion happening in the US, which is a shock to our democracy, right? For the first time ever, oh my gosh, maybe we're not in a democracy. Maybe we're in a weird sort of corporate oligarchy aristocracy thing. Mainstream media has literally lost all trust, but they're still piling this false information down our throats. A really big one, the state of the real economy. Go and talk to normal families on the street and ask them how they're doing. And then go and have a look at the economic environment and see how things could potentially get better. The math doesn't math. There are unprecedented excess deaths 2022 onward. So there's a bit of big pharma hyper scamming going on there. You've got kids and adults. All of them are addicted in some degree to screen time. You've got a masculinity crisis. You go and look at the Tinder swipe data and gender politics. You've got the divorce rate and the breakdown of the nuclear family. You got the generational wealth distribution with the silence, the boomers, the millennials, and the Gen Zs. I think it's something like household wealth. 11% of total wealth is controlled by millennials and younger, and 89% up is controlled by boomers and the silent generation. So look, you've got a massive amount of factors in there. Pick a couple, have a look. As I said, I believe that bad news is better than no news, so you can prepare for the worst while you pray for the best and take massive action to protect yourself and your family and your community. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm trying to do, at least. And yeah, if you want to do it with me and with our community, then reach out and we'll talk. See you on the other side.